On this call, we are joined by our CFO, Mr. Mayur Upadhyay, and SGA, our investor relationship advisors. I hope everyone has got an opportunity to go through the financial results and investors presentation, which has been uploaded on the stock exchange as well as on our website. We will give you a quick snapshot of our company, and then Mr. Upadhyay will walk through the financial performances. Budal is a 3-decade-old organization and integrated dyestuff chemical player. We are one of the largest manufacturers and exporters of chemical products in dyestuffs, dye intermediates, basic chemicals, and its variants. Currently, we produce more than 200 plus chemical products under this business vertical and serve more than 600 customers across 45 countries. We have 10 manufacturing facilities with production capacity of 316,000 metric tons per annum across products. We have 10 exclusive distribution warehouses, also known as depots, 7 in India and 1 each in China, Turkey, and Bangladesh. Over the last few years, we have been moving up the value chain and working towards diversifying the business from our core dyestuff and dye intermediates business to other specialty chemical products like benzene derivatives and chloralkali products. We have been moving forward with a focused mindset and adding additional capacity of 524,000 tons per annum across multiple products in next 2 years. We will touch base each business verticals and their recent developments. The product profile of Budal Chemicals is one is dyestuffs, where we are producing more than 175 variants of dyestuff, which are principally used as raw materials in textiles, leathers, paper, and other dyestuff consuming industries. This business has been moderate in FY21 as demand has been soft due to pandemic. This is an industrial phenomenon, and we expect demand scenario will be improved gradually due to the vaccination drive across the nation. Dyestuff segment contributes across around 35% to our total revenue. In terms of production, we are among the top 3 in India and are in good position to recover once demand revives. We are happy to announce that our liquid dyestuff has contributed well during the FY21. Dye intermediates is the second vertical. We have capacity of manufacturing up to 25 dye intermediates products. More than 40% of dye intermediates capacity is capitally consumed for various dyestuff, which give us a cost competitive advantage. During Q4 FY21, the average price of vinyl sulfone and H acid was around 208 per kg for vinyl sulfone and 395 for H acid. We have done debottlenecking of our dye intermediate plants, due to which its utilization levels can now reach up to 95%. Dye intermediate segment contributes around 40% to our total revenue. In terms of production, we are the leading player in this space in India. Additional vinyl sulfone capacity of 6,000 tons per annum is expected to commercialize in Q2 FY22 from our SPS subsidiary, which can add up to 100 to 120 crores of annual revenue. And basic chemicals is our third division. We manufacture other basic chemicals like sulfuric acid, chlorosulfonic acid, oleums, beta-naphthol, acetanilide, etc. These chemicals are used as key raw materials for production of dye intermediates, which is highly beneficial in terms of improving profitability of the company. 48% of the basic chemical capacity are captively consumed for dye intermediate production. We have taken some unique unit-specific shutdown in February 2021 for annual maintenance, and therefore our production numbers are lower on year-on-year basis. Our overall basic chemical segment contributes around 10% of our total revenue. Chloralkali business. We have recently acquired Seal Chemical Complex located at Rajpura, Punjab, which makes us now in chloralkali industry as well. This plant is developed around 124 acres of land, out of which around 60 acres of land is available. The key product under chloralkali business is caustic soda, where we have capacity of 82,500 tons per annum, of which 70% would be operational in FY22, as unit will be going under upgradation to inch the capacity up to 99,000 tons per annum. The plant also has strong internal and adjoining consumption of chlorine for around 75 to 80% in stable bleaching powder, hypochlorite acid, sodium hypochlorite, and through pipeline sales to adjacent units to which Seal has been supplying since many years. Rest of the chlorine gets sold in cylinders to third-party consumers. This unit already has a very strong client base and has been supplying to leading companies like HUL, Nestle, IOC, HPCL, Vardhman, Trident, etc. We expect this unit to generate additional revenues of around 300 crores at optimum levels with EBITDA margin in the range of 20 to 22%. And the fifth segment, which we are on the process to develop right now, is benzene derivatives and sulfuric acid. At our Saykha Greenfield project, which is close to Dahej GIDC in Gujarat, we are it is in a good progress, and we are committed to bring it on stream by Q3 FY23. Under benzene downstream products, we will be manufacturing MCB, PNCB, ONCB, MNCB, DNCB, PENA, 2,4-DNCB, and MPDSA, which are used in pharma and agrochemicals and dyes of industry. The capacity of sulfuric acid and derivatives will be 340,000 tons per annum, which will include sulfuric acid, oleum 23, oleum 65, liquid SO3, chlorosulfonic acid, and some other derivatives. We will set up integrated product chains which will lead into cost efficiency, better productivity, and higher margins for the company. We expect this project to generate additional revenues of around 550 crores at optimum levels with the EBITDA margins of 15 to 18%. Total cost of Saykha project, including one-time infrastructure cost, will be 400 crores. Out of that, cost of benzene downstream products will be 220 crores and cost of sulfuric acid and derivatives will be 125 crores. On the other hand, the total cost of acquisition and modernization of steel chemical complex will be around 270 crores. Out of that, 148 crores are used for the slum sale and around 3.8 crores for the stamp duty, and balance 110 crores will be used for the upgradation of the plant. So total capex of Saykha Greenfield project and steel chemical complex will be 670 crores, out of which 200 crores will be used from internal accruals, and balance will be the debt. So to sum it up, our new chemistry vertical will add on the additional revenues of around 800 crores with a better margin as compared to our existing business vertical. Additionally, these businesses are less volatile and will bring more stable and sustainable growth to our company. With new product vertical, client base as well as end user application will be diversified, which is in line with the long-term de-risk strategy of our company. And some of the other developments within Bodal. Our Triumph Chemicals has now been amalgamated to Bodal Chemicals, and production of PCCA has been stabilized and has become profitable. We have multiple trading and marketing subsidiaries to penetrate the new geographics and clients. All our subsidiaries are expected to perform well and add to overall profitability of Bodal in coming years. We have recently incorporated new subsidiary in Indonesia as PT Bodal Chemicals Indonesia. Our Turkey subsidiary Senar-Boya did dispatch of around 720 tons in Q4 FY21. However, foreign exchange loss has impacted the profitability due to depreciation of lira against US dollars. On business front, we expect monthly dispatches to improve further going ahead at Senar-Boya. This Turkish entity will strengthen our presence in Turkey and nearby countries, which are the key manufacturing belts of Europe in textile market. Long-term relationship with esteemed clients, superior product quality and backward integration have been our edge to sail through challenging times in FY21. We are working on new chemistry, new clients, new geography, investing in backward and forward and horizontal integration to create long-term sustainable growth. Over the years, we have ingrained lots of efforts to build technical expertise to handle these chemistries and will continue to do so for newer ones. Thank you, and now I will hand over the call to Mr. Mayur Upadhyay to walk you through the financial performance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Company has suffered significant loss of business in the Q1 FY21 due to countrywide lockdown. Despite pandemic hit quarter in H1, we were able to recover and registered a healthy business for the full financial year. Q4 FY21 performance has been a good quarter for us, which has negated our subdued performance in Q1 FY21. Q4 FY21 performance on standalone basis are like this. Total revenue stood at 4,085 million, a growth of 21.9% on year-on-year basis. Total production volume for the Q4 is as follows. Dyestuff reported 5,133 metric ton. Dye intermediate 7,061 metric ton. Basic chemical 40,020 metric ton. Segment-wise revenue, dyestuff stood at rupees 1,390 million. Dye intermediate at rupees 1,623 million. Basic chemical at 396 million. EBITDA grew by 18.9% to 509 million in Q4 FY21 on year-on-year basis. Net profit for the Q4 FY21 stood at 303.9 million, a growth of 12% on year-on-year basis. Company has written off bad debts of rupees 130.75 million in Q4 FY21 and 174.57 million for FY21. This is one-off case in the history of company, and the same has impacted our performance. For full year FY21, our standalone performance is as ahead. Total revenue stood at 11,477 million, a degrowth of 7%. Domestic market contribute around 67%, whereas export market contribute 33%. Total production volume for the full year, dyestuff 14,756 metric ton, dye intermediate 21,811 metric ton, basic chemical 1,74,780 metric ton. Segment-wise revenue, dyestuff is rupees 3,993 million, dye intermediate rupees 4,590 million, basic chemical rupees 1,269 million. EBITDA stood at 1,008.7 million in FY21. Net profit for FY21 stood at rupees 483.2 million, a degrowth of 46% on year-on-year basis. For FY21, our consolidated performance is as ahead. Total revenue stood at rupees 12,424 million. EBITDA stood at rupees 1,025 million in FY21. Net profit for FY21 stood at 397.7 million. In Q4 21, depreciation of Turkish lira versus US dollar has impacted our profitability at Sener-Boya, and we need to book M2M forex loss of 50.14 million. Impact of the same has already been incorporated in consolidated financial. On the subsidiary front, SPS posted revenue of rupees 993 million. Our BCTPL subsidiary reported revenue of 142 million. Performance of our Turkish subsidiary, which is Sener-Boya, was impressive during FY21, which posted total income of 792 million. Total income for subsidiary in China was 161 million. Our ROCE and ROE stood at 12.7% and 8.2% respectively. Our debt to equity ratio stood at 0.45. The Board of Directors has recommended final dividend at the rate of 80 paisa per equity share, that comes to 40% on the face value of rupees 2 per share for the financial year 2020-21. With this, I conclude the presentation and open the floor for the further discussion and question and answer.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Aditya Khetan from Stewart and Macret. Please go ahead. Mr. Khetan, so there's a disturbance coming from your line.
Hello. Now is it okay?
Yes, sir. You may go ahead.
Okay. So my first question, sir, on in the presentation slide page 20, so for the Greenfield Sayakha project of benzene derivative, there we have taken 65 crore as one-time additional cost. If you can highlight what is this cost we are talking about?
It's a infrastructure cost we are talking about. So this is a greenfield expansion. So to develop the infrastructure, roads, water, and all other infrastructure things that we have covered.
So we had separately allotted for the benzene derivatives and for the sulfuric acid expansion. So the 65 crore is again related to the infrastructure only, like this.
Yeah, see, there are some infrastructure cost which is common for both the project.
Okay.
So that's why we have separated that. If we take a single project, then whatever we do expenses for that project, that we consider for that project. And whatever common facility, road, etc., office, etc., which is common, that we consider in infrastructure.
Okay. So, the second question in the production numbers for all the three segments you have what you have mentioned. So does it include the captive or it is excluding the captive consumption?
No, it includes even captive. It is total production for the company.
Okay, including captive.
Yes.
Sir, for the SPS processor, so we are developing we have capacity of 6,000 tons. In the presentation, you mentioned that so there is an additional revenue of 120 crore, but considering the current realization, so could it be well more than 150 to 160 crore?
See, presently vinyl sulfone is traded at about 225 rupees. And if we consider 85% capacity utilization, then it comes to about 5,100 metric ton production. And we consider that production with this sales price, it comes to about 114 crore of revenue. That's why we are considering this price. And in chemical, you know very well that prices are fluctuating. So 3 months before, VS has reached to even 300. So at that price, yes, it can reach to even 150 crore plus.
Okay. Sir, is there any main reason for why our so two subsidiaries consistently they are in losses? So one is the Fenner and second is the SPS processors. Well, these two subsidiaries are continuously in losses despite H-acid production. I think it has ramped up to around peak utilization in SPS processors. But still, looking at the current revenue figure, so that has been quite strong. But still, at the bottom line, the subsidiaries are still in losses. So what are the main reasons for this?
Yeah, for SPS processors, we acquired this company from earlier management 70% stake. So the earlier management were originally in textile. So when the H-acid prices were at very high level, say 1,500 rupees per kg in 2014, at that time they planned this company and building up this capacity. And they were not originally in chemical business, so they were not aware that standalone HACid plant is not that viable. To make it viable, one should have, along with HACid, vinyl sulfone plant, so that effluent of both products can be used by each other product. Okay. And by doing that, you can save significantly as far as effluent treatment cost is concerned. So at the time of taking 70% stake, we were clear to start a vinyl sulfone plant in that company. But because of several reasons, there has been a delay continuously. One of the reasons was that one of the raw material for vinyl sulfone is ethylene oxide, and it's a highly inflammable product. So we in Gujarat, we are using this product since 25 years, and several other units are also using this product. Okay. And this ethylene oxide is only produced by Reliance in Gujarat, rather in India. So this product was not being used in North India earlier. So to get the explosive department permission, to get the transportation permission, etc., took much of the time for us. And now everything is ready, and some final touching is required to be done at the plant. That's why we are confident to start that plant in next quarter. And once vinyl sulfone plant start production, then this company will definitely turn into profitable continuous basis. So this is as far as SPS is concerned. As far as Saner Boya is concerned, we acquire 80% stake in this company. And this is basically our distribution arm in Turkey as well as nearby countries. Mm-hmm. But see, after acquisition, after 6 months, COVID has started worldwide, and because of that, we couldn't perform the way we have actually planned at the time of acquisition. So once COVID effect is lower, then we'll definitely perform better. As far as volume is concerned, see, earlier management was doing about 100 and 125 metric ton per month, which we have reached to almost 250 metric ton per month. So double the volume we have already reached. But there is no stable environment worldwide. That's why it's doing losses. And last quarter's loss was mainly due to forex fluctuation. Fluctuation of lira against dollar was hectic, and that leads to loss for us. So soon, within a quarter or so, if the things stabilize world over, then that will also start making profit.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. That explains well for that. Sir, so for the upgradation of the caustic soda plant from 82,500 to 99,000, you are incurring a capex of 110 crores. As we had acquired a slum sale plant to the tune of around 148 crores, and you are expanding by 110 crores for a 16,500 ton caustic soda plant. Isn't the capex too high, or so what am I missing? So apart from increasing the caustic soda capacity, what else are we upgrading here?
So chlor-alkali basically has electrolysis as the main process where the feed of salt solution is required, and then it is processed into manufacturing caustic, chlorine and hydrogen. So this is where the heart of the entire plant is, which is called the electrolysis process. So basically that plant had 20 years old electrolyzers, which are very high, very expensive as far as the economy of the production is. So immediately what needs to be done is we need to upgrade the technology. So the main main investment is going towards that. This is one of the reasons why we got this entire plant and this entire asset for such an attractive price, because this needed this upgradation immediately. Because after this upgradation, there will be a saving of at least 30 crores annually. So the amount that we are spending, 110 crores, that is going to be used not only for the expansion of the capacity, that is also there. It will be expanded by 15 to 18,000 tons per annum more. But the main the investment that we are doing is towards the upgradation of the technology. So the older technology was by INEOS, which is a British company, and now we have gone ahead with a Japanese technology supplier who works regularly in Indian market.
Okay. So from FY22, from the chlor-alkali, so what sort of revenue assumptions are we factoring in?
So we already started the project activity. The technology and the supply of the electrolyzers has been confirmed to the Japanese supplier, and we are targeting to complete the upgradation and the expansion process by next 12 months. So post that, we are targeting 300 crores of revenues at around 20 to 25% of EBITDA.
Okay, so you're talking from FY23, we are expecting 300 crores. So 70% of the existing 82,500 ton, that would be achieved by FY22. So from that, any sort of revenue assumptions have you taken out?
At the current rate, the revenue should be in the range of around 150 to 170 crores.
150 to 170.
Yes.
So just one last question from my side. Sir, is it possible to share the volume figure for TPK and liquid dyestuff for FY21?
Let me check if we have that handy.
Yes.
Liquid dyestuff volume.
Liquid dyestuff production for the quarter was 1,292 metric ton. For the quarter.
Okay. So for the whole year?
For the whole year, it's about 4,000. I don't have the exact number, but it's around 4,000.
Okay. And the similar number could be given for the whole year for the trichloroisocyanuric acid, TCA, FY21 volume figure.
Yes, that we are producing around 250 metric ton per month level since September 2020.
September 2020. Okay.
Yeah, since September.
It has been consistent.
Metric ton per month.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to remind participants that you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Jain from Edelweiss. Please go ahead. So Saurabh Jain, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question. So Saurabh Jain, I would request you to unmute yourself if muted from the handset. There is no response from the line of the current participant. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Isha Savla from Arya Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Congratulations for good set of numbers. So I have a couple of questions. The first will be, how is the textile market shaping up for us? And are we receiving inquiries like pre-COVID level for our dye stuff and dye intermediate products?
So the numbers were definitely better in the Q4. Overall scenario was better, but then again, the second wave that, India had to go through, that definitely disturbed, the momentum. But now we are done with so we had a disturbance of around 45 days, but so volumes have definitely been affected. But now overall, I think feeling is very positive, and I think we are back to the pre-COVID level numbers, almost there.
Okay, sir. Good to know that. And so my next question is, can you throw some light on the benzene derivatives and how much backward or forward we are planning to integrate in that? And how big is the market size in India and how much of it done through import?
So we are setting up a number of products in the benzene and derivatives. We are definitely integrating it with our existing business as well as the new manufacturing model that we are going to set up at Saykha. That itself is going to be very much integrated as a complex. So we are starting with a product called MCB, where there are only 3 players producing MCB in India. And so out of which we are going to be captively using MCB 100%, and we are going to be producing PNCB and ONCB from that, where PNCB again will be captively used around 50% to produce PNA and 2,4-DNCB. And ONCB again will be used to produce, there's a product called OA, which we are not covered in the presentation, but we are planning for that also. So ONCB again will be about 30 to 40% will be used captively to produce OA. So we are basically going into a 3-step integration within the benzene business model. And we are also integrating it with our sulfuric acid model, where the byproduct of HCl, which is generated in large volumes from the first step MCB, that is going to be completely consumed by one of the products in the sulfuric acid complex. And also all these products are also using sulfuric acid and derivatives, so that will also be used within the same complex into the benzene derivatives. And then we are also producing part of the benzene series. We are going to produce PNCB, which we captively already use in our die-step model. PNA we already use in our die-step model, and also MPDSA, which we already use in our die-step model, and the one more product OA, that also we already use in our die-step model. So we are basically integrating the new site within each other, and also all the products being produced there is going to be connected with our existing business also.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That was helpful. So I have one last question. Can you throw some light on chlor-alkali business? Client profile mention is like HUL, Nestle, etc. So can you share more details about key 3-4 products and end user application of it?
So chlor-alkali is one of the very basic chemicals that has an application into agrochemicals, textiles, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, etc. And alumina is the main consumer. But alumina presence is not there across the country. So since this plant is in Punjab, so it caters to the North Indian market, where there are many textile players and other detergent and chemical industries. So some of our main customers, because we not only produce caustic soda, but we also produce chlorine, we also produce hydrochloric acid, we also produce SBP. So there is a list of 6 products that we produce in that complex. So all these, for example, HCl, hydrochloric acid, we have a food grade product. So we supply that to Nestle. Again, caustic soda we supply to IOCL, which has a plant in Mathura and Panipat, Haryana. Again, players like Trident and Vardhman, who are the textile giants, they regularly use chlorine and caustic from us. So we have a very diversified buyers, that are there across from Jammu and Kashmir to UP and Northern Rajasthan belt.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the detailed description, and all the best for your next quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Samir Dalal from Natwarlal & Sons Stockbrokers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. I actually had 2 questions. I'm not sure if you answered the first one. The greenfield expansion that you're doing at the moment, when does that get commissioned?
It will be Q3 FY23. So around next September to November next year. By November we are targeting.
Okay. Now, the second question is, have you all borrowed anything? Have you all taken any debt already against any of these expansions, or that 400 crores that you're looking to take in the form of debt? You said 200 crores is going to be internal accruals and 400 crores is going to be debt. Have you raised any of that debt already?
Yeah, we have already raised 106 crore as a term debt, and which is there in the last year's balance sheet.
Okay, so now you have another 300 crores to raise, correct?
Yes, roughly.
So now that will take your debt to equity up closer to about 0.7, 0.8. Secondly, your working capital cycle seems a bit stretched with the working capital cycle reaching almost 150 odd days. So with the new products coming on stream, new production coming on stream, with the debt you're raising, my question is, where do you see debt peaking out? And two, what is the plan to reduce this debt? Because your working capital cycle is very high. You need to somehow shrink the working capital cycle.
See, working capital cycle is bit higher compared to earlier years is because of our business model where we are expanding. We have increased almost to the double level our die stuff capacity, and our focus is to actively consume more and more intermediate and do more production of die stuff. And because of this strategy, we feel that our blockage of fund in working capital will remain to some extent at higher side. But fortunately, our new acquisition of chlor-alkali business, over there requirement of working capital is very low. Over there raw material is only salt, and presently we are doing sales with not that much longer period credit days. So our business will improve definitely, but our working capital blockage should not improve further in near terms. Once Saikha project will start, at that time, yes, some blockage will improve.
No, but I just want to understand, when you say you cannot improve, you have about 145 days. I'm just trying to understand this. You have 145 days of working capital. So
145 days, I need to check. We can reduce it up to 80 days. See, sometime because of this COVID scenario, there has been some delay in payment from debtors. Also, there are some instances where our working capital remain blocked as far as even inventory is concerned. We have done the production, but because of low demand, we couldn't sell it. But going ahead, we can consider 80 to 90 days. That is something stable days for working capital blockage.
Fair enough. So at least that part of the debt you feel will start reducing, the short-term debt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the interest rate that you're going to be borrowing all of your capital at, if you can give us some indication?
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Mr. Dalal, there's a disturbance coming from your line. Request you to mute your line while the management answers your question.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. Term date, what rate we have received presently is 6.75%. And for working capital, we are using rupee loan as well as foreign currency loan. So as far as foreign currency loan is concerned, the rate what we are paying at present is LIBOR, rather 6-month LIBOR plus 1%, up to 1%. So that comes to 1.25% per annum. And for rupee, for working capital, we are using mainly WCDL, and presently WCDL rate what we are getting is 4.65%.
Sorry, what is 4.65?
4.65% per annum for WCDL in rupee currency.
Okay. And what percent is overseas?
Sorry, I couldn't follow you.
What percentage of your borrowing is from the overseas market, you said?
Dollar denomination borrowing for PCFC, pre-shipment and post-shipment is around 150 crore.
And any hedging strategies that you all follow, or it's all open?
No, we strictly follow hedging policy, and we do not keep any foreign currency exposure open. So whatever import or export we book, we immediately hedge it. We do not keep anything open.
Okay. I'll come back in queue if I have more questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Ankit Agarwal from Ark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity here. So the first question is on the China scenario. So what is the competitive scenario from China across the products? And like, are we getting any benefits from China Plus One strategy or the recently announced PLI scheme by the government?
So Chinese scenario in particular intermediate sector has been quite stabilized now because one of the initial disturbances in the Chinese chemical manufacturing came from this sector, which is now 5-6 years back. So I think there has not been much growth that has come from the intermediate and dyestuff sector in China. And I think overall dyestuff and intermediate sectors in China are quite stabilized now. And the China Plus One strategy is definitely going to help players like us. There is no doubt about that.
Okay, and the PLI scheme, sir?
So PLI scheme, we are currently, the Gujarat state and Punjab state both have some taxation benefit schemes for our investments. So we are definitely going to take advantage of that. So we are already in the process of that. So both the investments taking place in Punjab and Gujarat will be benefiting from the state GST.
Okay. And sir, regarding our exports, if you see compared to last year, they have reduced a bit. It's currently 33%. So do you have any plans to, penetrate new geographies or increase that export percentage for this year?
We feel that I think it is going to be quite flat compared to last year because still this pandemic scenario is not over. And in this last 12 months, we did have some issues because of the global issues and many countries being closed for business, etc. So I feel that plus we are not starting any expansions, significant expansion this year or currently. So I don't think that there will be quite any much difference in terms of the increase of the export number. Also, our latest acquisition, which is in Punjab, it's totally domestic sales. So the number may actually the top line may increase, but it will all be added to the domestic sales.
Okay, understood. And so regarding our subsidiaries, so how do we see them performing in this year? And also like the recently incorporated subsidiary in Indonesia, if you can just throw some light on that.
So Indonesia is basically a marketing arm for us because there is a good market there. We have been working in Indonesia since a long time. So because of the enough volumes and now our larger product basket, we had planned this few years back. We know where all the large consuming areas we wanted to set up our own setups, own depots. So it is just the extension of that strategy that we have, and it is a very fresh execution. So it will take some time, but we are confident that we'll be getting some good, decent direct sales to the consumers, the subsidiary.
Okay, sir, that was all from me. Thanks for the insightful answers and best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikas Kachawa from Affluence. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, right now there is been talk of infrastructure bill in America, and we have a small portion of our export in America also. So can we see a number jump in that part like in North America? Because we are mainly in the Asia and the European market, and they are missing in the textile. But
America is also providing like $1.2 trillion bill for the infrastructure. And can we see the number peak in our export in that particular area?
So the reason why our exports are not very significant in the US is that there is hardly any textile processing industry there. So our dye stuff sales has not much scope to be sold in the US. Also, the dye intermediate exports that we do, that mainly goes to the dye stuff producers, which are in China, Korea, Taiwan, Indonesia, places like that. So that's why our significant export number shows in the Asia region. And our paper and leather and all these buyers are based in, and some of the textile buyers are based in Europe. So that's why there's still a good amount of textile industry present in countries like Turkey and surrounding countries. So that's why our export, because of our we depend on our dye stuff model, which is about 85-90% of our total revenue. So, and US not having that processing dye stuff market, so it's not really, our exports to US are not really significant. But we do have a scope from the product called TCCA, which is now part of Bodal Chemicals. And there now we are consistently, the plant is consistently operating, and it's also converted into a profitability. So there we do have a EPA license to supply to US. The majority of our sales are taking place in the US only. So with time we definitely are going to increase our capacity there, and that should lead us to about double or triple our exports to the US.
Sir, last time you said about like you will be a debt-free company in a very short period of time. Now like we have again 450 crores of new debt on the company. Like in how many years or quarter you feel like our company will be in the debt-free, and we will start going ahead with a break-even point, and like all subsidiaries will be making profit from that particular point?
What I understood from your question is that earlier company was a long-term debt-free company, and now we are raising debt. So once again, when we will become debt-free? Am I correct?
Yes. Last time you said we have like 130 crores of debt on the phone call, around 3 to 4% of it on interest rate. Now we are again, like we have been aggressive in the market, like we are acquiring, upgrading our plants, and going ahead with a much bigger capacity. And now we are again we will be raising again 450 crores, which will be shown in our balance sheet. Now, what's your tactics or like future planning to, in how many years you will be seeing like all these things will get clean up? Like we will again can tell that we are in the debt-free scenario again.
Correct. See, presently, why we are raising debt, to understand is very important.
Yes, because you are expanding and acquiring and going for the diversification. That's a really core thing for any business. But we have to see the point also that in the history, we have seen that many companies going aggressively, they are raising debt and then they fail. And that indirectly impacts or directly impacts the main company. Because of this, we are raising the fund for our subsidiaries. So we are not going to see that kind of thing in our company, like if we are going ahead with this.
Yeah, one thing let me clear, we are not raising any debt for our subsidiary. Presently, only our subsidiary, that is Shaner Boya, which has the outside debt, and that too only 13 crore in the March 31st data.
Okay.
So other than Bodal, only 13 crore is the outside debt. As far as Bodal is concerned, whatever debt we are raising, that is in Bodal only. And considering the present best scenario for the chemical and allied products, at the same time government's support is there to build a better environment for chemical and pharmaceutical companies. So where we are going to manufacture benzene downstream product that can further be integrated up to paracetamol. So that goes into pharma also. So and the company is debt free. Further, present rate of interest is very, very attractive. See, in past 20 years, we might not have seen this much lesser rate of interest. So it's a good or rather wise step to raise debt and grow for the company. And final, what your question was, in how much time? So we do not want to remain a debt company for a longer time. Even earlier when we raised the debt, we had a time up to 2022 to pay the debt, but which we have paid in 2016 only. Way ahead our debt was falling due for repayment. So this time also, whenever we get the chance, we will definitely repay to our banker ahead of the schedule. But yes, definitely whatever debt we are raising, that will definitely remain on the book for at least 4 years. 4 to 5 years should be there.
So I was going through the presentation, and one of the end users is our paint company, right? If I'm right.
I couldn't follow you.
So your voice is breaking, Mr. Kachawa. I would request you to move to a better reception area and ask questions.
Sir, one of our end users are paint companies, and like the infrastructure industry is like now booming. Now from July onwards, there will be like many construction companies are going on. So we can have like, you can see more domestic sales in the company regarding that.
So we produce dye stuff, which actually doesn't have application into paints. So paints basically has pigments, which are the colors. So we don't produce pigments. So I think we are not directly linked with the infrastructure or infrastructure growth.
Because one of the presentation I have seen, your paint company is one of the, paints are one of your end users. So I was just verifying that only.
No, we do not supply to paint companies.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aditya Khetan from Stewart and Macret. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you for the follow-up. So my question is, as you said that benzene derivatives, we are building a greenfield steel plant, so that has synergies with the dye stuff business. So is there any chance, like in future, so we could expand the dye stuff capacity also? As of now, we know that the operating utilization is quite low. It is around 55 to 60% only. But post expansion of this plant of benzene derivatives, so could there be some synergies, and definitely we could look to debottleneck or increase the capacities in dye stuffs?
That opportunity definitely is there for us. We still have some room to do brownfield expansions in our main dye stuff plant in Baroda, but we already have set up a large capacity, so we are now in the process of improving the capacity utilization. But producing this couple of raw materials at the new site will definitely give us better environment to produce some more dye stuff. So currently, couple of the chemicals that we are going to produce at Saika, we procure that from the market. So, having our own production will definitely help. It will also add some new dyes product range. We'll be producing some more colors also now with the help of this. So both possibilities are definitely there. And so in a way, we are doing a backward integration and covering more intermediates. And also, it will give us more strength. And we definitely are in a place to grow our dye stuff capacity whenever needed.
Okay. Sir, one last question from my side. If this has been answered previously, we had recorded some bad debt of around 13 crores. So what is this related to?
Yeah, this is data written off. We have been dealing with a chemical trader. We started business with them since 3 years, and suddenly they stop paying us. So this matter was going on since last 1 year, and since last 3-4 months, the person was not traceable. He might have gone underground or have gone out of India. So we feel that now it is difficult for us to recover this debt, and that's why we have written off this debt. And this is kind of first time in the history of Bodal that we have written off more than, say, 25 lakh to 50 lakh. In earlier 30 years of our business, we are not required to return off anything. About 7-8 years before, we were required to return off about 5-6 crore, but in the immediate next year, we could recover the total amount. So here also, we will try our best, because we will not stop our effort. So we are approaching the legal part, advocates, etc., that what further we can do. So we are definitely after that.
Complete write-off, or there is still pending some?
No, it's a complete written off. Nothing is
written off.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from me.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Suresh Agarwal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Regarding the debtors write-off, can you elaborate how much transaction, how much volume of the transaction we have done with that particular debtor, and how many days we are transacting, or whether that
Clear.
Your audio is not clear, sir. We are unable to hear you, sir.
Okay. Just me. Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, now slightly better.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
So regarding the data which you have written off, like from how many years we are having business with them, and what volume of business we were dealing with them, and if they are promoter related?
No, we have been dealing with them since last 3 years, and it is not at all promoter related.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much transaction we have done yearly volume? Anything?
Yeah, many transactions. It runs into more than 50-60 transactions per annum.
No, like regarding the amount in a particular year, highest amount.
Highest amount can be say 20-25 crore.
Okay. And regarding one thing, like which our recent acquisitions, actually, is there any production going on, or still we are in the process of like new machinery, installing new machinery and all these things, new technology we are building, or we are having already any business there from since the last 2 or 3 quarters?
So the acquisition has been operational, that plant has been operational for 20 years, and we got the possession of the plant on 1st April, and it has not stopped since then. So the plant is continuously operating, and we should be adding around 150 to 180 crores of top line from that plant in this current financial year. And also, because of the older technology and the currently chlor-alkali prices being dull, I think this year it will not be possible to achieve the normal average chlor-alkali kind of EBITDAs. But with our upgradation completed in 12 months, and scenario should also be a little better after 12 months. I think post in next financial year we should be able to generate more top line with the help of the technology and expansion, and also with a better market. So we are targeting for FY23 we should have about 9 months effect of with the new technology. So we should have about around 225 to 250 crores of top line in FY23, and we should also achieve at least about 15 to 18% of EBITDA. And on a full year effect, post that, we should do around 300 crores of top line at around 20 to 25% EBITDA, which are the average normal numbers for the same sector.
Okay, great. But sir, is it profitable as on date?
It is EBITDA positive right now.
Yes.
Like whatever interest we have to pay at the Bodal level for having such acquisition, if we expense out all those interest, then will it be profitable for the Bodan?
See, EBITDA is positive. If we consider interest part also, then it's almost a break-even level at present. Once we complete the modernization part, then it will be good way profitable for the company.
No, recently we have done 2 acquisitions. No, one in chlor-alkali and another is something in Punjab.
Yes. See, what I'm talking about is the acquisition at Punjab. The plant, the way we are operating at present, there is a EBITDA positive for that plant. And
the other one?
No, this is the only plant we have acquired.
Okay.
It is a chlor-alkali plant in Punjab. So this is the only acquisition we have done in this financial year.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But we have to keep in mind that in some years back, actually, Bodan was trapped by making so many subsidiaries, forming so many subsidiaries, and taking huge loan. So we should not go in this way again.
Okay, noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Due to the time constraint, ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you very much all the participants for taking time and attend our conference. If anyone's question remain unanswered, they can directly contact our investor guys, IR guys, or to me also. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.